A shocking rumor is spreading, claiming that Hollywood legend Gene Hackman had planned to reveal some big names connected to the Epstein scandal just before his death. Is this true or not? In this video, we will dive deep into the rumors surrounding Hackman's final days and explore whether he was truly preparing to reveal explosive secrets or if this is just an unfounded conspiracy theory. Join us on this journey, keep asking questions, and demand answers. We cannot let these secrets be buried forever. Hit like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments below, because the truth always deserves to be known. Gene Hackman, a Hollywood legend, an irreplaceable icon of the silver screen, his name forever linked with iconic roles in Unforgiven, The French Connection, and many other timeless films. For decades, he was admired not only for his exceptional talent, but also for his private lifestyle, staying away from the scandals of the entertainment industry. But then, on a fateful day, the news of Gene Hackman and his wife's sudden passing shook the world. What made everything even more suspicious was the strange coincidence of timing, as the major event, the release of Jeffrey Epstein's client list, happened on that very same day. The headlines that day were buzzing with surprising names, as the long-awaited client list was finally revealed, featuring numerous prominent figures ranging from politicians and business tycoons to Hollywood stars. People eagerly awaited the truth to be exposed, secrets that could no longer be hidden. But amidst the media frenzy, another shocking piece of information surfaced. Gene Hackman and his wife were found dead. At this point, questions began to arise. How could this be such a coincidence? A legendary actor with clear ties to the elite passing away on the very day the Epstein list was made public. Could there be a secret buried with him? As the news spread, people began to scrutinize the details surrounding the event. First was the location. Gene Hackman and his wife were found at their private home, a place known for its absolute security. There were no signs of break-in, no reports of any prior trouble. Everything seemed too perfect, too clean. Next was the timing. Why exactly on the day the Epstein list was made public? If it was just a coincidence, it would surely be one of the strangest coincidences in history. Hackman's loyal fans immediately took to social media to voice their suspicions, sparking debates that led to a wave of conspiracy theories. Some believed Hackman might have had crucial information about the Epstein case, while others speculated that he may have been threatened or even forced into eternal silence. So, was Gene Hackman connected to Jeffrey Epstein? Prior to this, there was no documentation or evidence confirming any relationship between him and the disgraced financier. However, when the list was released, many immediately checked to see if his name appeared on it. The result was that Gene Hackman's name was not present. But that doesn't necessarily mean he was completely unaware of the scandal. Hackman had been active in the film industry for decades, with extensive connections to many influential figures. He worked with directors, producers, and actors who are now suspected of being linked to Epstein. Could he have known something? Could he have been privy to secrets that some people wanted to keep hidden? Another strange detail surfaced when an anonymous source claimed that Hackman had expressed concerns about the dark forces controlling Hollywood. While there is no concrete evidence, this only deepened the suspicion. Could he have been under surveillance? Did he receive any? Could he have known something? Could he have been privy to secrets that some people wanted to keep hidden? Another strange detail surfaced when an anonymous source claimed that Hackman had expressed concerns about the dark forces controlling Hollywood. While there is no concrete evidence, this only deepened the suspicion. Could he have been under surveillance? Did he receive any warnings? If you want to stay updated on more intriguing stories and breaking news about prominent events, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell to get the latest videos from us. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about these theories? We look forward to hearing from you so we can discuss and explore more captivating stories together. A Reddit post immediately caused a stir. Was Hackman planning to reveal something? Did he know too much? And is this how they silenced him? The questions remain unanswered, but one thing is certain. This story cannot simply be brushed aside. Gene Hackman passed away on a day when the world was buzzing with shocking information. Was it just a coincidence or part of a larger mystery? Did he really know something that some people wanted to keep hidden? The answer is still a mystery, but one thing is clear. The public won't let this story fade away easily. When the list was leaked online, major media outlets quickly got involved. People were searching for familiar faces, for shocking names. Famous figures from billionaires, politicians to movie stars were mentioned, one by one, but amidst the sea of names, Gene Hackman was absent. For many, this was a relief. Hackman had always been known as a talented actor with a private life and rarely involved in Hollywood scandals. But instead of calming all speculations, Hackman's absence from the list raised even more questions. Could some names have been omitted to protect influential people? And more importantly, did Hackman know something that some people didn't want to be revealed? Was the list altered? One of the most debated issues on forums is the accuracy of the Epstein list. Some people believe the list was altered before reaching the public. Documents related to Epstein have been tightly controlled ever since the case began. Many key documents have mysteriously disappeared, and numerous witnesses have either remained silent or withdrawn from investigations. A journalist who has been following the Epstein case from the beginning spoke out, "Do you really think we have the complete list? How many names were removed before the public ever saw it?" And this is where Gene Hackman reappears in the discussions. Some people believe that if Hackman truly intended to reveal something, he might have possessed a complete version of the list, an uncensored version. But if that's the case, where did he get it from? And more importantly, who would want to silence him? Although Gene Hackman's name is not on the list, that doesn't mean he is completely unrelated to the case. With over 50 years in the entertainment industry, Hackman had relationships with many influential figures. He worked with several directors, actors, and powerful producers, some of whom are now suspected of being involved with Epstein. Throughout his career, Hackman always kept himself separate from the glamorous parties of Hollywood. He left the film industry in 2004 and moved to live a simple life in New Mexico. But could it be that he saw something that made him want to withdraw from Hollywood? Another theory suggests, if Hackman had no direct connection to Epstein, could he have heard or known something that someone didn't want him to reveal? While Hackman's name wasn't on the list, many other powerful figures were included. Hollywood, Washington, Wall Street, each sector had its representatives. Some influential figures immediately denied the allegations, while others chose to remain silent. Articles continued to be published, revealing new details, but the key point was that no one on the list faced serious legal consequences. Some investigations were opened, but then everything gradually quieted down. Followers of the case began to wonder, why is it that every time the truth starts to surface, it gets buried again? The silence from mainstream media also raises suspicions. Major media outlets only mention certain names while overlooking the most influential figures. As everything became chaotic, another theory began to spread. Could Gene Hackman have planned to reveal something important, and perhaps someone wanted to ensure he couldn't do so? A mysterious anonymous post on a forum sent chills down many spines. If Hackman had something to say, we will never hear it. They've made sure of that. Those who believe in this conspiracy theory point out that the timing of Hackman's death is too coincidental to be just an accident. If he truly had important information, what happened to it? Who had the strongest motive to ensure it would never be made public? Regardless of what the truth is, one thing is clear. The Epstein list is not a simple story. Too many questions remain unanswered. Did Hackman really know something important? How many times has this list been altered before being released to the public? Why haven't the biggest names been brought to justice? Until these questions are answered, the Epstein case and the mysteries surrounding Gene Hackman will continue to be a contentious topic. And for those who believe Hackman holds the truth, one thing is certain: they will not stop searching for answers. Particularly, how many times has this list been altered before being released to the public? Why haven't the biggest names been brought to justice? Until these questions are answered, the Epstein case and the mysteries surrounding Gene Hackman will continue to be a contentious topic. And for those who believe Hackman holds the truth, one thing is certain: they will not stop searching for answers. A particularly intriguing theory has gained a lot of attention. Hackman might have possessed a secret that someone didn't want him to reveal. Gene Hackman is not a name commonly associated with scandals in the media. He lived a private life, staying away from the noise of Hollywood. However, according to some sources, he recently exhibited unusual behavior. A longtime friend of Hackman, who requested to remain anonymous, revealed to a local newspaper that he seemed worried about something. "I don't know what it is, but it's big. He told me there are things better left unsaid, but sometimes the truth has to come out." These words have sent chills down many people's spines. Hackman may have been holding on to a monumental truth, one so dangerous that it caused him to fear for his safety. And if so, could this have been the reason for his death? Another source, someone who worked with Hackman in his final years, also mentioned an enigmatic remark he made before his death. They think they buried everything, but they are wrong. What did this statement mean? Who were the they Hackman was referring to, and what had been buried? Just before his death, Hackman made a call to an old friend, an investigative journalist who had been looking into the Epstein case. The contents of the conversation were never revealed, but according to close sources, Hackman inquired about the Epstein list. Why would someone with no direct connection to Epstein be interested in this list? Was he trying to find a specific name, or worse, was he preparing to reveal something? Shortly after Hackman's death, it was discovered that some documents from his home had gone missing, including notes, letters, and even some of his old emails. Hackman was not the type to keep trivial documents, so if he held on to anything, it was surely something of significance. One of the strangest details was a hard drive Hackman frequently used. According to a close friend, he had kept it very carefully, but after his death, the hard drive vanished. It was gone, as if it had never existed. So what did this hard drive contain? Could it have held important documents about Epstein or evidence of something bigger? An investigative journalist claimed that Gene Hackman may have sent an important email just before his death, but this email was never found. There's a theory that this email may have been remotely deleted or even blocked before it could reach its recipient. A bolder theory suggests that Hackman may have sent this email to a journalist or an organization, but they were silenced through threats. Is this the truth? Did Hackman attempt to reveal something but was stopped by someone? If the theory about Hackman's secret is true, then the most important question is, who had the motive to silence him? The Epstein list is filled with the most powerful names in the world. If Hackman held information that could expose part of this system, then he was certainly a threat. But is that all, or is there another possibility? Hackman may not only have known about the Epstein list, but also understood how the entire system operated. Some conspiracy theories suggest that Hackman might have known about a larger, more secretive network, beyond just the Epstein case. If this is true, then the motive to silence him becomes even stronger. After Hackman's death, no one can answer the crucial questions. What did the missing documents contain? Who deleted? Some conspiracy theories suggest that Hackman might have known about a larger, more secretive network beyond just the Epstein case. If this is true, then the motive to silence him becomes even stronger. After Hackman's death, no one can answer the crucial questions. What did the missing documents contain? Who deleted Hackman's emails? Did Hackman truly plan to reveal something? Some believe that although Hackman has passed away, the truth he held may still be out there, waiting to be discovered. A journalist who worked with him revealed that Hackman had a habit of recording important thoughts in a private notebook. If that notebook still exists, it could be the key to everything. But does the notebook still exist, or has it also been erased from history? Will the truth be buried or exposed? Gene Hackman may have left this world, but his secrets may still be there, waiting to be uncovered. If there's one thing for certain, it's that people won't stop searching for the truth. Hackman once said, "The truth has a way of coming out. It always does." Perhaps he was right, and if anyone thinks the truth will be hidden forever, they may have to face a different truth. The truth never disappears. Close associates of Gene Hackman reveal that before his death, he had a mysterious conversation with an old friend in the journalism industry. This conversation took place just a few days before Hackman passed away. An anonymous source disclosed that Gene was worried about something. He mentioned that he had discovered something big, something that could shake everything in ways no one could expect. This friend later tried to reach out to Hackman several times, but received no response. When hearing of Hackman's death, the person couldn't help but feel a chill. Did he know something he wasn't supposed to know? Although Gene Hackman was not the type of person involved in Hollywood scandals, some have wondered if there was any connection between Hackman and the powerful figures associated with Epstein in the 80s and 90s. Hackman was one of the most influential stars in Hollywood. He not only worked with many famous directors, but also had connections with some of the wealthiest and most influential people. Some sources suggest that Hackman attended exclusive events for the elite, where names now suspected to be linked to Epstein also appeared. While there is no direct evidence showing Hackman's involvement in this network, if he was indirectly connected, it's very likely that he knew more than what has been publicly revealed. History has witnessed many cases of people who knew too much about secret systems and underground criminal networks meeting tragic ends. Hackman could be just another case in the long list of suspicious deaths. Some notable examples include Gary Webb, 2004, an investigative journalist who exposed the CIA's connection to drug cartels, found with 2 gunshot wounds to the head, and although the police ruled it a suicide, many believed it was an assassination. Michael Hastings, 2013, a journalist who exposed a U.S. military scandal, had his car suddenly accelerate and explode in the street, despite having told friends he was being followed. Jeffrey Epstein, 2019, one of the central figures in the notorious scandal, was said to have committed suicide in his jail cell, despite surveillance cameras being conveniently malfunctioning at the crucial time. If Hackman truly knew something related to the Epstein list or the powerful people behind the case, his death might not have been a coincidence. When the Epstein list was released, a series of high-profile names in politics and entertainment were brought to light. However, some people noticed that the list seemed to have been edited. Certain important names were missing, despite prior evidence suggesting they had connections to Epstein. The question is whether Hackman discovered something about this editing. A journalist who worked with Hackman on a documentary project about Hollywood scandals revealed that he was digging into some issues. He asked me strange questions about the power structure in Hollywood, about who really controls everything. It felt like he was uncovering something bigger than just a scandal. If Hackman truly had information about the editing of the Epstein list or other secrets, his sudden death could have been a way to prevent the truth from being exposed. After Hackman's death, many in the film and media industry became reluctant to speak about him. Those who had worked with Hackman declined interviews. The tributes posted on social media by Hollywood stars were very generic, with no mention of anything specific about his later years. This only heightened suspicion. Could it be that an invisible fear is hanging over those who might know the truth? If Hackman really knew too much, the question arises whether anyone will continue the investigation he left unfinished, or if everything will fall into permanent silence. One thing is certain: the truth has not been fully revealed, and even though Hackman has passed, the questions surrounding his death will continue to haunt the public. The truth has a way of revealing itself. It always does. Will that day ever come, or will everything be buried forever? This scandal is not just the story of an individual, but of a system. From the moment Jeffrey Epstein was arrested to the release of his client list, a repeating pattern has been observed. Powerful names are suspected, but then everything gradually fades into obscurity. After Epstein's mysterious death in prison, people believed justice would be served, that those involved would be exposed. But instead, crucial documents vanished, witnesses went silent, and the media gradually shifted public attention elsewhere. The biggest cover-ups don't happen in the shadows, they happen right in front of us, disguised as breaking news. Gene Hackman, a Hollywood legend, passed away at the exact time this list was released. Could it be just a coincidence, or part of a bigger game? Hollywood has long been seen as a glamorous land, where blockbuster movies are born and stars become idols to millions. However, behind that shiny exterior, it's also a world full of secrets, hidden deals, and powerful figures pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Gene Hackman was not just an actor, he was also an observer. Throughout his long career, he interacted with many influential figures in the entertainment industry, including some whose names appeared on the Epstein list. Some sources suggest that Hackman had discussions with colleagues about the darker sides of Hollywood, speaking about how certain powerful individuals could manipulate the media, actors' careers, and even justice within the industry. The real script wasn't written for the movies, but to control the narrative. If Hackman truly knew about these shocking issues, could someone have tried to silence him? The issue with the Epstein list is not just a Hollywood story, but also ties into politics, business, and the world of the elite. The names under suspicion include national leaders, world-class entrepreneurs, and high-ranking figures in the entertainment industry. But it seems that very few of them actually face consequences. There is an unspoken rule in politics: real power never reveals itself. Those who control the system always find ways to ensure that the most important secrets never get exposed. It's not what you know, but who controls what you know. If Hackman accidentally or intentionally discovered a truth that could threaten the powerful figures behind the scenes, his sudden death might not be a simple accident. When the Epstein list was released, many expected the media to take strong action to expose the entire truth. However, major media outlets reported the story superficially or focused on less important names. This is not the first time this has happened. Major scandals are often buried this way, with information diluted when too dangerous a story is made public. When a story is too sensitive, many other stories are released to divert attention, controlling the narrative instead of focusing on those behind the scenes. Rather than investigating the masterminds, the media will steer the story in another direction, downplaying the severity of the issue and creating new controversies to make the public forget the main scandal. Is the media truly free, or is it just a tool for controlling information? Press freedom only truly exists if those who own the media allow it. With all these factors in mind, Gene Hackman's death becomes even more mysterious. Did he really know too much, or was he just a victim of a series of strange events? While many questions remain unanswered, one thing is certain. Those in power always find ways to keep secrets. The truth is not always made public. It is often concealed under layers of fog. The silence surrounding the Epstein list, along with the suspicions surrounding Hackman's death, only fuel more troubling theories. How many others know the truth but are too afraid to speak out? Are the witnesses, documents, and evidence truly preserved, or is everything being erased from history once again? So what really happened? What was Hackman preparing to reveal? What documents did he hold that might have threatened someone's interests? Who had the motive to silence him forever? No one knows the answer for sure, but one thing is clear. A part of this story has been erased from history. Although the media has tried to divert attention, the internet remains a place where unanswered questions can persist. Forums and social media discussions continue to raise doubts. Is anyone truly investigating Hackman's death? Was the Epstein list altered before being released? Who controls the documents Hackman left behind? Do we truly want to know the truth, no matter how frightening it may be? The truth can be hidden, but it never truly disappears. If history has taught us anything, it's that every secret will eventually be revealed. If enough people dare to search for it, ask questions, and keep looking. Because the truth only exists when someone is willing to protect it. The only thing stronger than a secret is a mind that refuses to forget. So, we've gone through the information and theories surrounding Gene Hackman and the big names involved in the Epstein scandal. While this story still has many unclear aspects and a lot of unverified factors, it certainly makes us think about the major events that may have been concealed. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any upcoming updates. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. When the police and FBI began investigating the mysterious death of legendary actor Gene Hackman and his wife, no one could have imagined that the truth behind it would surpass all expectations. Recently, investigators decided to tear up the old flooring in Hackman's mansion, and what they discovered underneath left the entire team breathless. These clues could change the entire story, and you won't believe what they found. Join us as we uncover the truth in this video. Gene Hackman's house in Santa Fe. Hackman's first encounter with Santa Fe happened during film projects in the area, and it left him with a sense of magic about the place. This fascination led him and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, to seek a permanent home there. They purchased a property that required extensive renovations at the time and collaborated with the local firm Studio Architecture. Hackman transformed the house into a space that reflected his unique vision, blending Southwestern architectural elements with personal touches. His new home sat atop a high hill, spanning 12 acres covered with piñon trees, just a few miles from Santa Fe, offering a breathtaking 360-degree view that extended all the way to the Colorado mountains. He was drawn to Santa Fe after working on several films in the area and felt a certain magic in the place. He said he purchased the property because of its location and later reached out to Santa Fe architects Harry Dapel and Steven Samuelson of Studio Architecture to help him transform the house into the personal space he envisioned. Transforming the house. The house was in terrible shape at the time, Samuelson said. It was a concrete building from the 1950s that had been abandoned and deteriorated, but it was a great location, and the foundation was well placed on the land. Hackman and Betsy Arakawa, who shared the home, didn't want to recreate the traditional Pueblo architecture. Instead, they prioritized spaciousness, natural light, and an open floor plan with French windows, features not easily achieved in traditional adobe design. As a result, the house became a blend of styles, part Pueblo, part colonial New Mexico, and part Spanish Baroque. The house isn't purely one style at all, Samuelson said. It has a raw quality, almost like a barn converted into a home, both expansive and cozy at the same time. The first step in creating a sense of spaciousness was removing 90% of the roof, allowing the ceilings to be raised up to 20 feet in some areas. The interior spaces were reimagined, and walls were torn down to fulfill Hackman's desire for large, open rooms. 3 small rooms were combined into the heart of the home, a vast living area featuring original tree trunk columns, incredibly comfortable sofas, and a state-of-the-art sound system to fill the space with the music Hackman loved. I wanted a large room with the feel of a great hall, with other rooms opening off of it, without being separated by too many walls, Hackman shared. It's completely different from my other homes. My Montecito house is much more formal. Hackman brought a sense of what he called a cinematic illusion to his living space, describing how the interiors were designed. He wanted the home to have the refinement of a place that had evolved over decades, gradually acquiring layers and character over time. The house is new, but we tried to make it feel like it's been here for 100 years or more, he explained. Plastering is great, but I wanted water stains, as if there had been leaks over the years, he said. I wanted some of the plaster to be darkened, as if it had been stained by smoke. He admitted that he had to do a lot of convincing with the plaster workers because this was exactly what he wanted. But the result was walls that subtly transitioned from one shade to another, creating distinct spaces without disrupting the sense of openness. For example, in the entryway, a rich teal gradually fades into a soft brown, forming a seamless color bridge between the exterior and interior. In that same spirit, the new ceiling beams were repurposed, beaten with chains, and repeatedly painted and stripped to create layers of aged patina. Hackman also wanted stamped tin ceilings in certain rooms of the house. When he couldn't find any available tin patterns that satisfied him, a local craftsman was brought in to create exactly what he envisioned. Hackman was involved in every aspect of the home. He determined the floor plan for the architects, specified every detail in the kitchen, and even took part in the demolition work himself. As a talented painter, he would sometimes mix colors on his palette himself to guide the workers on exactly what he wanted. Although he was on set for most of the construction period, Hackman remained closely involved in every aspect of the project. He was a very engaged client, very artistic and extremely detail-oriented, Samuelson said. We had to call and send sketches constantly, or else a few days later we'd get a call saying, "Hello, this is Gene Hackman. Do you remember me?" In addition, Betsy Arakawa was frequently present at the construction site, consulting with Hackman over the phone and sending pictures of the ongoing work. When it came time to decorate the house, they didn't want to stick to a pure Santa Fe style. Hackman explained, "We bought a few things in Santa Fe, some others came from auctions in New York, an antique store in Germany that Betsy and I found, and from Los Angeles. It's a beautiful combination of soft Southwestern-style pieces and sharp-edged antiques." The newly purchased items, as well as furniture from Hackman's Montecito home, were blended by Santa Fe designers Ken Figueroa and Glenn Gomez, who the couple described as their interior design partners. The softness of the colors and lines of Santa Fe and the traditionalism of European antiques were connected by large, colorful accessories to scale. Just as in their architectural style, there was no effort to turn the house into a museum of New Mexico art and craftsmanship. Some of the most effective pieces came from Morocco, including spice racks painted with intricate designs that resembled mosaic paintings. If you want to know what really happened and uncover the shocking details of this investigation, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about the FBI's findings? We look forward to hearing from you. The house was designed as a retreat for short periods, possibly 2 months scattered throughout the year when Hackman was not on film sets. During these times, the focus was on comfort and tranquility, free from the interruptions of guests or constant parties. If he felt like painting, Hackman could drive his truck to the mountains, bringing along oil paintings and canvases. Otherwise, he would spend hours reading books and listening to music in the living room, watching the desert change colors and the clouds move across the surrounding mountains of Santa Fe. Hackman embraced a simple and creative lifestyle. After retiring from acting in 2004, he dedicated his time to painting and writing, drawing inspiration from his peaceful surroundings. His daily routine often included morning walks, studio work for his art, and evenings spent with Betsy, enjoying the serene atmosphere in their home. This house served as a sanctuary for Hackman, shielding him from the public eye and allowing him to pursue personal passions without distraction. Despite his reclusive lifestyle, Hackman still maintained connections with the local community. He was occasionally seen at local events and supported regional arts initiatives, reflecting his appreciation for the vibrant culture of Santa Fe. However, he greatly valued his privacy and protected his home as a sacred space, far removed from the noisy world of entertainment. Gene Hackman's married life. Gene Hackman, one of Hollywood's most famous actors, lived a personal life filled with love, challenges, and eventual redemption. He was married twice, first to Faye Maltese and later to Betsy Arakawa. His journey through marriage reflects the sacrifices and challenges that come with a dedication to the acting profession. While his first marriage ended in heartbreak, his second marriage brought him peace and stability. Hackman met Faye Maltese in the early 1950s, when he was still an aspiring actor struggling to make ends meet. At the time, he hadn't yet made a mark in Hollywood and had to take on various odd jobs to survive. Faye, who was a secretary, saw something special in him despite his financial hardships. The couple fell in love, and in 1956, they got married. They built their life from scratch, moving from one small apartment to another as Hackman worked tirelessly to establish himself in the film industry. In the early years of their marriage, money was tight, and Hackman often doubted whether he would ever find success. Faye stood by him, providing emotional and financial support as he attended auditions and took on small roles to make ends meet. Shortly after his divorce, Hackman found new love with Betsy Arakawa, a classical pianist. They met in the early 1980s when she worked at a fitness center in Los Angeles. Hackman, by then in his 50s, was drawn to Betsy's intelligence, kindness, and passion for music. Their relationship developed slowly, and by 1991, they were married. Unlike his first marriage, which had been marked by career struggles and separation, Hackman's second marriage brought him peace and stability. By then, Hackman had achieved great success in Hollywood and no longer needed to prove himself. Together, Gene and Betsy built a peaceful life away from Hollywood, settling in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Unlike his first marriage, where fame created tension, Hackman's second marriage flourished in privacy. The couple stayed together for over 3 decades, with Betsy providing the... By then, Hackman had achieved great success in Hollywood and no longer needed to prove himself. Together, Gene and Betsy built a peaceful life away from Hollywood, settling in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Unlike his first marriage, where fame created tension, Hackman's second marriage flourished in privacy. The couple stayed together for over 3 decades, with Betsy providing the companionship and support that Hackman had lacked during his years as an up-and-coming star. By the 1970s, Gene Hackman had become a Hollywood star, winning an Oscar for his role in The French Connection. However, success came at a cost. Let's take a look at how Hackman relentlessly pursued his career in Hollywood and how it affected his relationship with his children, leading to years of distance and complexity. Hackman's complex relationship with his children over the years. Hackman always kept his personal life, including his children, private in interviews. In 1989, he told film critic John C. Tibbets that the audience was drawn to him because they could relate to him as an ordinary man, explaining, "I like to keep my personal life as normal as possible so that in art, people can let go and reach out." Hackman reflected on his early career days when he appeared on Larry King Live. When the host, Larry King, asked him how he coped with the transition from a lackluster career to one of fame, Hackman replied, "Actually, I didn't cope very well. I took care of my family. My family never lacked for anything, but I was so fascinated by old Hollywood, the mystique of it. Even though I never participated in it, I was really enamored with being a part of it and that I could be anyone and do anything I wanted." Hackman and Maltese welcomed their first child, son Christopher Allen Hackman, in 1960. The two-time Oscar winner sat down with journalist Lita Powell Drake in February 1984 for an interview about the film Misunderstood. When Drake asked Hackman if there would ever come a day when he stopped hugging his son, who was in his 20s at the time, and instead shook his hand, he responded, "No, we still hug each other to this day, and I thank God for that." He added, "I don't think there will ever be a moment where we have to shake hands. That was really a big challenge for me in the film, and one of the coldest things a person can do is to be unaware and insensitive to the needs of a child who needs to be embraced in their father's arms." Hackman also spoke about fatherhood in an interview in 2011. When asked if he had any advice for his son, Hackman said, "I lost touch with my son about advice when he was young." He continued, "It might be because I was away so much, making films at locations when he was at an age where he needed support and guidance. It was really difficult for me to be away for 3 months, then come home and start giving him orders." Reflecting on his journey to becoming a writer, Hackman shared about his son's early career aspirations in an interview with Empire magazine in January 2020. "My son once thought he wanted to be an actor, and while he was in New York, I wrote a few small monologues for him. He said, 'I think that's where I started. I really liked it. Ideas kept popping into my head, and I wrote them down.'" Hackman and Maltese welcomed their second child, daughter Elizabeth Gene Hackman, in August 1962. Not much is known about Elizabeth, as Hackman rarely spoke about his family in interviews. While he didn't specify which of his two daughters he was referring to, he did share a heartfelt story about a tough period in his career during the 70s and 80s. "I had to borrow my daughter's car to go to auditions in Hollywood," he told Cigar Aficionado magazine in 2000. "I was barely scraping by, taking almost anything that was offered and trying to make it work." Elizabeth also attended a few events with her father, including the premiere of Superman in December 1978, where he played the villain Lex Luthor at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. As for playing Lex Luthor in Superman, he said, "It was great. I have to say, like a license to steal." Many years later, in October 1996, she was photographed at the premiere of Hackman's film The Chamber in Beverly Hills Khalifa, along with her sister and stepmother Arakawa. Hackman and Maltese welcomed their third child, daughter Leslie Ann Hackman, in October 1966. Like her siblings, there is little information about Hackman's youngest daughter. In 1984, journalist Bobby Wan interviewed Hackman about the film Misunderstood and asked if the film made him feel more emotional as a father or as a son with a tense relationship with his own father. Hackman replied, "They almost only had me with my children in working on it, in dealing with the misunderstandings between father and child." He talked about his role. "My youngest daughter watched the movie, and she was very moved by it. But I think she was affected because it was a film, not because I was in it. She liked it as a movie and introduced it to her girlfriends. They're going to see the screening next week. She really liked it, and I hope the older kids like it too." Hackman made rare comments about his children in an interview with the Irish Independent in August 2000, noting that they helped him decide to continue acting rather than pursue a career behind the camera. After acquiring the rights to Silence of the Lambs, he initially planned to make his directorial debut, but ultimately turned down the job, a decision he said he had no regrets about. He shared, "I didn't think twice about that decision," and added, "My kids helped me see that it wasn't the best thing for me." He also acknowledged that being the child of a famous person was difficult, adding, "I couldn't always be home with them as they grew up and lived in California. My success always weighed heavily on them." Despite the complex relationship with his father, Hackman's children loved him dearly and were shocked to hear the news of his tragic death. The mysterious death of Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa were found dead in their home in Santa Fe, New Mexico, on February 26, 2025, shocking the world and leaving everyone searching for answers. 9 days after the Hollywood legend Gene Hackman, his wife Betsy Arakawa, and one of their dogs were discovered dead in their 9,000-square-foot home in Santa Fe. The circumstances surrounding their deaths remain mysterious, with many questions arising about what really happened inside their secluded home. The couple was discovered when a maintenance worker, unable to reach them for several days, decided to check on their well-being. Looking through a window, he saw Gene Hackman lying motionless in the living room and immediately called security, who then contacted emergency services. Upon entering the house, authorities found Hackman and Arakawa deceased, along with one of their 3 dogs. The other 2 dogs were still alive, adding another layer of mystery to the discovery, which left everyone deeply concerned. When officials arrived, the bodies had already begun to decompose, indicating that they had been dead for several days. Investigators estimated that their deaths occurred around February 17, 2025, 9 days before they were found. Initially, authorities searched for signs of unauthorized entry, criminal activity, or external injuries on the bodies, but they found nothing. The house showed no signs of a struggle, and no valuables were missing. One crucial question that puzzled investigators was why neither Hackman nor Arakawa called for emergency help. An autopsy revealed that Hackman's heart had stopped on February 17th, as indicated by data from his pacemaker. However, the cause of Arakawa's death remained unclear, as there were no immediate signs of injury or poisoning. Carbon monoxide poisoning was ruled out after tests came back negative, and there were no gas leaks in the house. As details began to emerge, experts and the public started speculating about what might have happened. One prominent theory is that Hackman, who had a history of heart disease, may have suffered a fatal heart attack and collapsed in the living room. Arakawa, upon discovering him, might have been shocked or experienced extreme stress. Some experts suggest that she could have suffered from broken heart syndrome, Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, a condition triggered by intense grief or trauma, which can cause severe heart irregularities leading to sudden death. If Arakawa found Hackman already deceased, the shock could have caused her to experience acute heart failure, leaving her unable to call for help. Another theory considers the possibility of an underlying medical condition affecting both individuals, although toxicology reports have yet to provide a clear answer. Some speculate whether they may have had an agreement in case of a medical emergency, possibly deciding not to call 911 for personal reasons. The case became even more complicated due to the condition of their bodies. The dry, hot environment in their home led to a natural mummification process, making it difficult for forensic pathologists to determine the exact time and cause of death. The question of the isolation of the house. Additionally, questions have arisen about why their house was so isolated, despite having security and staff, yet no one checked on them sooner, leading to speculation about their increasingly secluded lifestyle in recent years. Hackman had withdrawn from the public eye after retiring from acting in 2004, preferring a quiet life away from Hollywood. The impact of Hackman and Arakawa's death. The sudden and mysterious nature of their deaths has sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Gene Hackman is regarded as one of the greatest actors of his time, renowned for his powerful performances in films like Unforgiven and The French Connection. Tributes from colleagues and directors have poured in, with Clint Eastwood calling him a close friend he will deeply miss, and Francis Ford Coppola remembering him as a true legend of cinema. Betsy Arakawa, although not widely known in Hollywood, was deeply respected by those who knew her. She was Hackman's devoted partner for many decades, and their relationship was considered a rare example of lasting love in the entertainment industry. Fans and conspiracy enthusiasts have flooded social media, with some speculating that there may be more to the story than what has been revealed. The lack of timely medical intervention and the unusual circumstances have led to widespread speculation. While officials have confirmed that no foul play is suspected, authorities continue to investigate the case, with toxicology reports and further forensic analysis pending. Unanswered questions. While the most plausible theory points to a tragic chain of natural events, with Hackman dying from heart failure, followed by Arakawa's death potentially due to stress, many questions remain unanswered. Why didn't they call for medical help? Could there have been an undetected environmental factor in the house? Did their deep bond lead to them passing away together, unable to live without each other? The FBI continues to investigate. As the world mourns the loss of a legendary actor and his beloved wife, the mystery surrounding their final days continues. Whether it's a heartbreaking coincidence or something more complex, their story will be remembered as one of the most intriguing and tragic endings in Hollywood. Investigators are still struggling to determine the exact cause of death, but what the FBI has planned will surely surprise you. The FBI is dismantling the old floorboards from Gene Hackman's mansion. At a recent press conference, Santa Fe County Sheriff Daniel Morales addressed concerns surrounding the investigation. "I'm not saying it's unusual, but it's not normal to find two people deceased in a home," he said. Speaking to a crowd of reporters, he acknowledged the unusual circumstances of the case but kept specific findings from the FBI under wraps. "We are working closely with federal agencies to ensure that nothing is overlooked. At this point, I can't comment on specific details, but I can confirm that additional investigative measures are being taken within the premises of the house, Sheriff Morales stated. Expanded investigation. Officials initially focused on the cause of death for Hackman and Arakawa, but the answers remain unclear. However, with no signs of external trauma, no carbon monoxide poisoning, and no evidence of criminal activity, investigators appear to be broadening their search for answers. Now, they believe the house itself may hold hidden secrets. As news of the FBI's actions spreads, speculation has begun to grow. Some theorists suggest that Hackman, known for his reclusive lifestyle in his later years, may have concealed a long-held secret in his home. Could there be a hidden room, a concealed safe, or even long-lost documents buried beneath the floor? Other theories about Hackman's past. Others wonder if this investigation might be connected to something from Hackman's past, considering his illustrious career and relationships in Hollywood. Could there be something deeper behind this story? Some online forums even speculate about the possibility of secret documents, concealed assets, or evidence related to an old crime. Although officials have declined to confirm any specific suspicions, forensic experts believe that the FBI's search methods indicate they are looking for more than just clues related to the deaths of the couple. Unconventional criminal investigation. Tearing up the floorboards is not a standard procedure in most death investigations unless there is reason to believe something important is hidden beneath. Potential possibilities include whether there could be traces of criminal activity that were previously overlooked, or if something had occurred in the house in the past. Could the floorboards hold hidden forensic evidence? Old houses sometimes have secret compartments built into the floors and walls. Could Hackman have hidden? Hackman's family, as well as close friends, have remained silent, fueling speculation that something major is about to be revealed. Furthermore, the presence of the FBI instead of just local authorities suggests that federal investigators are particularly interested in this case. This raises questions about what they might suspect. Currently, Hackman's estate remains sealed off as forensic teams continue their search. FBI officials have declined to give a timeline for their investigation, leaving many wondering if there are more shocking discoveries waiting to be uncovered. Could Hackman's home hold a secret that could change the entire course of this case? And more importantly, what will the FBI find beneath the floorboards of his legendary estate? Gene Hackman's health battle. Hackman faced several health issues in his later years. Struggles with heart disease, previous injuries, and the natural effects of aging became significant factors in his life after retiring. One of the most well-documented health battles Hackman faced was with heart disease. In 1990, when he was 60 years old, Hackman suffered a severe heart attack, which forced him to reassess his lifestyle. This was a wake-up call that led him to adopt healthier habits and reduce his workload in Hollywood. In 2004, Hackman made the difficult decision to retire completely from his acting career. Although he never explicitly stated that health issues were the sole reason, it was clear that his body needed rest. By this time, he had undergone various medical treatments, including the implantation of a pacemaker to regulate his heart condition. As Hackman entered his 70s and 80s, he experienced the physical effects of aging. Reports indicated that he struggled with movement, often requiring assistance for daily tasks. While his mind remained sharp, his physical condition prevented him from appearing in public. Fans rarely saw him appear in the media in his later years, as he preferred a quiet, secluded life in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Occasionally, paparazzi managed to capture images of him, showing an older man who had clearly slowed down but still maintained his activities in his own way, such as cycling, gardening, and enjoying time with his wife, Betsy Arakawa. In 2012, Hackman survived a serious bicycle accident in Florida when a truck struck him while he was cycling at the age of 82. Such an accident could have been life-threatening, but Hackman made a miraculous recovery. This event reminded the world of his resilience, though it also raised concerns about his vulnerability. Despite battling many health issues, Hackman lived into his 90s. However, reports indicate that his health had deteriorated in the years leading up to his death in 2025. Close friends stated that he had become weaker, with increasing difficulty moving, although he remained mentally alert. When Hackman and his wife were found dead in their home in February 2025, many speculated whether his cardiovascular condition played a role in his death. Data from his pacemaker confirmed that his heart had stopped on February 17th, but the cause of death remained unclear. Some experts theorized that his wife, in a state of shock after discovering him unresponsive, may have died from heart failure due to the stress. Gene Hackman was a fighter, both on screen and in life. Despite facing numerous health challenges, he lived a long and fulfilling life, choosing to spend his final years in peace, away from Hollywood. His legacy as an actor remains intact, but his resilience in dealing with health challenges is also highly admirable. With the surprising findings in the investigation, we may have only scratched the surface of a larger mystery. Were Hackman and his wife truly victims of an unexpected accident? Or are there strange revelations that the FBI is slowly uncovering? This story is sure to continue making waves in the public for the time to come. Thank you all for watching the video, and don't forget to share your thoughts on what might be hidden under Gene Hackman's floor. Stay tuned with us, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any important updates. See you in the next videos. In his final years, Hollywood legend Gene Hackman left behind a shocking and emotional legacy, causing his family and the world to question everything they once knew about him. At the age of 95, Hackman's final message, revealed only after his passing, contains chilling truths and secrets that will send a shiver down your spine. From secret financial dealings to haunting letters he never sent, his last will paints a picture of a man struggling with fame, a turbulent past, and the broken relationships he left behind. What did he hide? And why did he choose to reveal everything only in his final moments? Stay tuned as we uncover the untold story of Gene Hackman's last message and the shocking revelations that will haunt you. Santa Fe, New Mexico, a land bathed in sunlight with arid hills and a vast sky, where the sunset paints the red rocks in shades of gold. In this seemingly peaceful place, a name had withdrawn from the bright lights of Hollywood. Gene Hackman, known to audiences for his cold, sharp, and weighty performances in films like The French Connection, Unforgiven, and The Conversation. Gene Hackman was not just an actor. He was a living symbol of an unforgiving era in cinema, where talent had to shout to secure a place under the spotlight. However, while most of his colleagues clung to the spotlight with final roles or surprise comebacks, Gene Hackman chose the opposite path. He disappeared in 2004 after announcing his retirement from the film industry. Hackman rarely made public appearances, did not participate in interviews, attended no events, and there was no career retrospective. All that people knew was that he and his second wife, Betsy Arakawa, had retreated to a villa deep in the outskirts of Santa Fe, where he referred to it as the land of wind and silence. The villa quickly earned a haunting nickname from the locals, the Silent Villa, not only because of its strange isolation, but also due to the dense atmosphere surrounding it. Delivery workers rarely saw the owner, occasionally receiving short messages asking them to leave packages at the gate. Even neighbors just a few hundred meters away seldom saw Gene Hackman step outside. He had once been the face of American cinema, but now he was just a ghost behind those walls. A local resident once said, "The rumors started from that silence." Some people speculated that Gene Hackman was writing an unpublished memoir, while others believed he was recording his thoughts, his final messages, as a way to communicate with future generations. And some believed that it was Betsy Arakawa, the woman who had stood by Hackman through many storms, who asked him to sever all ties with Hollywood as an unspoken agreement between them. The truth remains unknown, as the silent mansion never opened its doors to the curious. The only information to leak out was a small detail from a plumber hired in 2023. He claimed to have seen an old tape recorder on Gene Hackman's desk with a handwritten note that read, "The final words, private." No one knows what the recording contains, or whether it truly exists, or is just an exaggerated imagination. But what happened next only deepened the eerie mystery surrounding Gene Hackman. He canceled all routine health checkups, refused to respond to messages from old colleagues. A journalist who sent a letter inquiring about his well-being received only a blank sheet of paper with 3 words, "Leave me alone." If you found the story of Gene Hackman surprising and emotional, don't forget to like and share this video with your loved ones. To not miss out on more captivating stories and shocking revelations in the future, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell now. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, share your reflections on the legacy Gene Hackman left behind, and the untold secrets. Gene Hackman once said in his final interview in 2004, "I've played enough roles of regretful men. I don't want to become one of them." But now, in the sunlit villa of Santa Fe, he has become the shadow of the characters he once portrayed. Lonely, introspective, and carrying a secret that no one is allowed to touch. Betsy Arakawa, who had been by Gene's side for over 30 years, also maintained absolute silence. She declined all interview requests and never appeared with her husband during the rare times he ventured outside. It is said that Betsy was the only one who knew about the final message, the recording that is believed to be Gene Hackman's last will, where he revealed his thoughts on his career, love, and the hidden shadows within. At the age of 90, Hackman no longer cared about fame or wealth. The only thing he sought was peace, a luxury he had never experienced throughout his life on the movie sets. However, that silence was not entirely by choice. Rumors began to spread, and hidden aspects of Hackman's life slowly emerged through whispered conversations from those closest to him. It was rumored that his health had rapidly deteriorated, more quickly than anyone had imagined. Sudden heart attacks, falls that no one witnessed while he was riding his bike down the street. Gene Hackman in his final years had become a shadow of the man he once was. According to sources that have not been made public, Hackman's family was not as perfect as many might have imagined. Hackman had 3 children from his first marriage to Faye Maltese, a marriage that lasted 30 years before ending in a bitter divorce. His daughter, Elizabeth Hackman, publicly criticized her father's emotional neglect. Fame took away all the time he should have spent with the family. He was always working, always somewhere else. While Hackman financially supported his children, the relationship between him and them was never truly nurturing. Moments like family dinners, teaching them to ride bikes, or reading bedtime stories only existed in his children's imagination. This lack of attention built up over time, creating a gap that could never be healed. Even when Gene Hackman remarried Betsy Arakawa, a pianist 30 years younger than him, the tension between him and his children remained unchanged. Many sources close to the family revealed that Hackman's decision to retreat into solitude was not simply for rest, but also a way to avoid the growing conflicts within his own family. Family gatherings became less frequent, phone calls grew shorter, and even holidays like Christmas no longer brought the sense of togetherness they once had. Hackman never openly admitted this, but those close to him sensed that he was haunted by the fear of seeing disappointment in his children's eyes. In an attempt to bridge the emotional gap, he sent money, property, and luxurious gifts from the West Coast to the cities where his children lived. However, like many of the roles he played, money couldn't buy what mattered most: genuine connection and forgiveness. The distance between them became unbridgeable when Hackman completely stepped away from Hollywood in 2004 after his final role in Welcome to Mooseport. There were no emotional farewells with colleagues, no farewell parties from the studios that once regarded him as their golden goose. Hackman quietly vanished, like a fleeting breeze, leaving only rumors of a lonely, reclusive life. Hackman's final years in Santa Fe seemed like a retreat from the world, a quiet space where he lived in isolation. He spent most of his time in his modest wooden house, immersed in books, writing, and sketching the landscapes around him. Those lucky enough to encounter him at the local grocery store or gas station described him as a thin figure with sharp eyes and a strong gaze. Unmistakable. Hackman was often seen sitting alone on his porch, watching the sunset and drawing the distant mountains. These rare moments, far from the spotlight, were perhaps the only times he truly felt free. No cameras, no empty praise, no complicated family relationships, just him, the wind, and the quiet thoughts he kept to himself. Even more chilling are the whispers surrounding a mysterious personal fund that Hackman established in the mid-90s. Details about the fund are shrouded in secrecy. No one knows exactly how it operates, where the money came from, or its true purpose. Among the documents discovered, there was a handwritten letter from Hackman to himself, resembling a personal financial diary. In it, he wrote, "I built this, not to leave an inheritance, but to leave control." This cold statement stunned his children, as it confirmed a harsh truth. Gene Hackman never intended for his assets to fall into anyone else's hands, not even his own family. As rumors about Hackman's declining health spread, Hollywood media began searching for the final clues about his life and legacy. Some believe that Hackman quietly wrote a will years ago, dividing his assets into different accounts to prevent any disputes. Others speculate that he set up an anonymous charitable fund, funneling a large portion of his wealth into it as a silent act of atonement for the family he had distanced himself from. The more he withdrew from the spotlight, the more Hackman became the subject of wild conspiracy theories and fabricated stories. However, in his humble home in Santa Fe, he spent his final days in peace, leaving behind not only an outstanding career but also unresolved mysteries that would linger long after his death. Gene Hackman wrote his own ending, leaving the world in a way no one expected. The news of his passing was announced on a cold, overcast morning, before the sun had risen over the red peaks of New Mexico. The announcement was simple, without the fanfare one might expect, much like the reclusive life he had lived for the past 2 decades. However, when that brief notice appeared in a local newspaper, it shook not only Hollywood media, but also Hackman's own family, as long-hidden secrets and locked doors that had remained shut for years suddenly swung open after a long silence. Initially, Hackman's family thought everything would be straightforward. They found a handwritten will, notarized in 2001, listing a few clear assets: the house in Santa Fe, a bank account in California, and a classic Hudson Hornet that Hackman had kept since his youth. The total value was estimated to be under $5 million, a modest sum compared to his legendary career and public image. But as they continued searching through old documents and began uncovering seemingly anonymous bank accounts, a completely different and unexpected picture started to emerge. It turns out, Gene Hackman's influence wasn't limited to the world of Hollywood. In the 1990s, when his career was at its peak, Hackman quietly built a complex financial empire, including real estate holdings, stocks, anonymous investment funds, and overseas transfers. Hackman wasn't just a famous actor. He was also a sharp financial strategist, skillfully hiding his wealth within a complex financial network. Hackman's total net worth, when all the clues were put together, was estimated to exceed $80 million, a figure that left even his closest friends stunned. But what truly shocked his family wasn't the scale of his fortune, but the way Hackman had meticulously hidden everything over the years in such a complex and elusive manner. No one knew exactly how, with whom, or why he chose to maintain such secrecy. In some secretive transactions, Hackman even used aliases through trust accounts set up in places like Switzerland, the Cayman Islands, and Singapore. The discovery of this secret fund immediately led to a series of covert investigations. Lawyers, financial experts, and even private detectives were hired to trace the fund, but all hit dead ends. Gene Hackman had been preparing for this day for a long time. Ghost accounts, a maze of shell companies, untraceable money transactions. Every time the family seemed to get close to a clue, Hackman appeared to be several steps ahead. When the family's lawyer officially disclosed Hackman's assets, the listed properties were just the surface: the house in Santa Fe, the vintage car, and a few bank accounts. The rest, the real assets, remained hidden in the shadows of financial secrecy, known only to Hackman. And now, with his passing, that secret has become an unsolvable puzzle for those closest to him. Gene Hackman was not only a famous actor or a Hollywood legend. He was also a man living in deep solitude, torn between the desire to protect his family from the chaos of fame and the fear of losing himself in the role of a father. But it wasn't just the letters that sparked suspicion. The deeper the Hackman family dug into old files and forgotten drawers, the more disturbing pieces they uncovered. Mysterious financial agreements, untraceable money transfers, and perhaps most concerning of all, a list of beneficiaries that did not include any of his family members. It seemed that Hackman had created an entirely separate will, a plan that did not involve any of his children. Ironically, throughout their years together, Hackman and Betsy Arakawa were the epitome of a peaceful marriage. The couple lived in a handcrafted wooden house on a 12-acre plot in the Santa Fe Mountains, far removed from the turmoil and scandals of Hollywood. Their longtime friends, Daniel and Barbara Lenahan, fondly recall the quiet afternoons when Hackman painted. Betsy silently brewed tea, and the two shared content smiles amidst nature, believing they had achieved their ideal life. However, beneath that tranquil exterior, Hackman's need for control never wavered. Betsy once confided to a close friend, "Gene is the perfect husband, as long as I don't touch what he calls his personal legacy." And that legacy was not just his film career, it was also his absolute control over his own story. No one, not even Betsy or their children, was allowed to rewrite the history of Gene Hackman. To the world, Gene Hackman was a film legend, but to his children, he was like a closed door, a father defined only by his work schedule and movie contracts. They don't remember him from fishing trips or cozy family dinners. Instead, they remember him through magazine interviews and the rare moments they saw him on the red carpet, close in proximity but emotionally distant. There were nights when his eldest son, Christopher Hackman, stayed up late, watching and rewatching his father's films, trying to find a real connection behind the characters. But the screen only reflected what Gene Hackman wanted the world to see, not the emotions hidden deep within. In 2017, when Gene's health began to decline, Leslie noticed a noticeable shift in the balance of power. Betsy had become the only one speaking for Gene, making decisions on his behalf, even refusing interviews or acting opportunities without consulting him first. Leslie recalled one summer evening in 2019 when she visited unannounced. Betsy took quite a while to open the door, and her hesitation made Leslie feel uneasy. When Leslie insisted, Betsy reluctantly let her in. Gene was sitting in the living room, but his eyes were cloudy and distant, his smile strained, and every sentence he spoke began with an invisible subservience. "Betsy thinks that... Betsy told me. Betsy said I should do this." The man who was once as strong as Gene Hackman was now just a shadow of himself. Betsy insisted that every decision about his health, even the way he passed, was entirely Gene's choice. But Leslie couldn't accept that. She had seen the prescriptions that Betsy had arranged for her father. The handwritten notes in the bedroom where she had carefully outlined steps to help Gene pass peacefully. That realization sent a chill down Leslie's spine. She couldn't shake the haunting question. Did Gene Hackman truly want to die, or were all those decisions made by Betsy on his behalf? After listening to the highly confidential recording, Leslie was shaken, not because of the loss, but because of the fear that the voice she heard wasn't Gene's, but a distorted reflection of Betsy's influence, a confession that had been coerced. Leslie didn't hate Betsy. She couldn't hate the woman who had stood by her father for 30 years. But no amount of gratitude could dispel the growing suspicion that Gene Hackman, once a symbol of strength, might have lived his final years as a pawn, pulled by the strings of a love that had controlled him. And when the door to the Santa Fe mansion closed for the last time, Leslie understood the truth. The one who held the key had been trapped in that house, along with secrets that would never be revealed. Some houses never deteriorate, even after the people who once lived in them are gone. The Santa Fe mansion is one of those places. It wasn't just Gene Hackman's final home. It became something more. A living, breathing entity in the wind that blows through windows, never fully closed. The people of Santa Fe call it the Whispering House. Stories circulate among the neighbors, the old maintenance workers, and those who have seen Gene Hackman standing by the window, silently gazing out at the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. The whispers never cease. It is believed that the presence of Gene and Betsy still haunts the place, not in the form of a visible ghost, but as a trapped memory, endlessly repeating like an old film. Footsteps echo at midnight on the wooden floors. Doors gently open and close, even though the mansion has been locked tight for years. And when the doors of the Santa Fe mansion closed for the final time, Leslie knew the answer to Gene Hackman's fate. Whoever truly held the key would forever be locked in that house, along with the buried secrets. Some houses never truly fall into ruin, even when their inhabitants have long since gone. The Santa Fe mansion is one such house. It was not just Gene Hackman's final retirement home. It became a living entity, breathing with each step, silent with every breeze that passed through windows that were never completely closed. The people of Santa Fe call it the Whispering House. Stories circulate among neighbors, former maintenance staff, and even those who briefly spotted Gene Hackman standing by the window, gazing into the distance at the Chisto Mountains. The whispers never stop. People believe the essence of Gene and Betsy never truly left the house, not as physical ghosts, but as a stream of memories eternally trapped, replaying like a faded, worn-out film. Fragments of conversations, footsteps echoing at midnight on the wooden floor, the sound of doors softly opening and closing, even though the mansion had been locked tight. They loved each other, a love so strong it could burn both souls. But they also feared each other, feared losing each other, feared a day when there would be no one left to hold on to in the darkness of old age. That fear turned the house into a living tomb, burying every smile, every unfinished dream. Leslie Hackman, the sole heir of Gene, neither sold the house nor moved in, but she returned once every year on the anniversary of her father's death, standing before the heavy wooden door, her hand trembling on the doorknob but too afraid to turn it. "I hear him," Leslie once said in a rare interview. "Not in a clear voice, just a feeling, a presence, a sadness hanging in the air. There are things he never said, questions he never asked, and now they're all trapped in that house." Did Gene Hackman truly leave behind a final recording? That question haunts reporters, fans, and documentary filmmakers, all of whom try to reach Leslie, but no one has heard the recording except for her. Not a single second of sound, not a single copy has been revealed. Some believe the tape holds dark truths about love, control, and secret agreements between Gene and Betsy in their final days. Others think the recording isn't Gene's farewell to the world, but rather his farewell to himself, a message written and read by him, closing the chapter on his life. Leslie hasn't confirmed anything. She only says, "Some secrets are better left buried with the dead." The house still stands there, lonely on the hillside, with no one daring to buy it. Documentary film crews have requested to shoot there, but they encountered strange glitches when entering the backyard. Distorted images, missing audio, or recordings of inexplicable sounds like the scraping of a wooden chair, the sighs of someone in an empty room. The Santa Fe mansion isn't just a property, it is a living tomb where secrets are locked within every plank of wood, every brick, every window pane. Anyone who steps inside feels the invisible eyes watching, the questions hanging in the air. Questions that only Gene Hackman, Betsy Arakawa, and Leslie Hackman may ever know the answers to. As for the outside world, we can only hear the whispers of the house, the echoes of love, fear, and truths that were never revealed. And when the door of the Santa Fe mansion closes at sunset, it doesn't just close another day, it closes a mysterious chapter with no end. Hackman always kept his personal life private, especially when it came to his children during interviews. In 1989, he shared with film critic John C. Tibbets that audiences appreciated him because they saw him as an ordinary man. He explained that he preferred to keep his personal life simple so that viewers could easily connect with him through his art. He also admitted that he didn't cope well with the transition from a lackluster career to one of success. While he always took care of his family and made sure they had everything they needed, he acknowledged that he had become too enamored with the old Hollywood and its mystique. Even though he didn't indulge in what Hollywood had to offer, he still found himself fascinated by being a part of it and the ability to be anyone and do anything he wanted. Hackman made rare comments about his children in an interview with the Irish Independent in August 2000. He shared that his children had helped him decide to continue his acting career rather than pursue a job behind the camera. Although he had the opportunity to direct Silence of the Lambs, he ultimately turned it down, a decision he had no regrets about. Hackman said, "I didn't think twice about that decision," and mentioned that his children helped him realize it wasn't the best choice. He also admitted that being the child of a famous person was difficult, and that his success had always been a burden on his children. Despite the complex relationship with his father, Hackman's children always loved him and were shocked to hear of his tragic death. Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, were found dead in their home in Santa Fe, New Mexico, on February 26, 2025, leaving the world stunned and full of questions. 9 days after the legendary actor and his wife, along with their dog, were found dead in their 9,000-square-foot home, the circumstances surrounding their deaths remain unclear, with many questions about what truly happened in their secluded home. The sudden and mysterious death of Gene Hackman sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. As one of the greatest actors of his era, Hackman was renowned for his iconic roles in films such as Unforgiven and The French Connection. Colleagues and directors expressed deep sorrow, with Clint Eastwood describing him as a close friend he would deeply miss, while Francis Ford Coppola called Hackman a true legend of cinema. Betsy Arakawa, though not prominent in Hollywood, was highly respected, especially by those who knew her. She was the devoted partner of Gene Hackman for many decades, and their relationship stood as a rare example of enduring love in the entertainment industry. After their deaths, fans and conspiracy theorists flooded social media platforms, with many speculating that there were still untold details in the story. The lack of timely medical intervention and the unusual circumstances led many to propose theories. While authorities have stated there are no signs of foul play, they continue to investigate, with toxicology results and forensic analysis still pending. As the world mourns the loss of a cinematic legend and his beloved wife, the mystery surrounding their final days remains unsolved. Whether it is a tragic coincidence or something more complex, their story will be remembered as one of the most tragic and dramatic endings in Hollywood. Investigators are still struggling to determine the cause of death, but what the FBI is preparing to uncover is sure to surprise many. Officials initially focused on determining the cause of death for Hackman and Arakawa, but no clear conclusions have been reached. While there are no signs of trauma, carbon monoxide poisoning, or foul play, investigators seem to be broadening their search to uncover the truth. Currently, they have begun to suspect that the house might be hiding important secrets. As information about the FBI investigation spreads, many theories are starting to emerge. Some believe that Hackman, known for his reclusive lifestyle in his later years, may have been concealing a major secret within his home. Officials initially focused on determining the cause of death for Hackman and Arakawa, but no clear conclusions have been reached. While there are no signs of trauma, carbon monoxide poisoning, or foul play, investigators seem to be broadening their search to uncover the truth. Currently, they have begun to suspect that the house might be hiding important secrets. As information about the FBI investigation spreads, many theories are starting to emerge. Some believe that Hackman, known for his reclusive lifestyle in his later years, may have been concealing a major secret within his home. And that's all. The mystery surrounding Gene Hackman's final message continues to baffle those who knew him, and the truth about his final moments may be even more terrifying than we thought. With never-before-seen footage revealing strange clues and the investigation into his death still ongoing, it's clear that the life of this legend holds secrets yet to be uncovered. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on this case. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next shocking story. 6 questions, 6 knives plunging into the buried truth beneath the flawless mask of a peaceful departure. But no departure is ever truly peaceful when the shadow of the hidden one lingers, hidden between missing pieces, between final breaths no one truly hears. Gene Hackman may be gone, but these 6 questions remain, demanding answers. From the dazzling lights of red carpet premieres to the post-Oscar parties that stretched into the early morning, Gene Hackman once had it all. The perks of an A-list star, a 2-time Oscar winner, one of the few to rise to the top without bowing to hidden forces. But behind that shining success, there was a Gene Hackman quietly closing doors, turning down Hollywood's glittering invitations and rejecting everything others deemed as glory. If you're intrigued by Gene Hackman's story and the hidden truths of Hollywood, hit like, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share this video with friends who'd enjoy it. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next exciting and shocking stories. Now, let's dive into this captivating tale. By the late 1980s, at the height of his career with films like Mississippi Burning and Unforgiven, Gene Hackman started pulling away from the limelight, stepping back from major events, award ceremonies, and those iconic photos with colleagues over glasses of champagne. All of it had become excess, things Hackman no longer valued. Hollywood had no loyalty, no conscience, only an unquenchable thirst for profit. That sharp truth wasn't a rash statement, but the culmination of everything Hackman had seen, endured, and absorbed over decades of navigating the glitz and the cold calculations behind the scenes. Hackman wasn't meant to be an idol. He openly confessed that he never felt at ease stepping onto a stage to accept an award. The pats on the back, the fake smiles exchanged behind velvet curtains, the congratulatory handshakes. Each one felt like a relentless stab in the back. It all repulsed him. Hackman once shared a story with a close friend. After receiving his first Oscar for The French Connection, he tore the bow off the statue and tossed it straight into the trash can in the men's restroom of the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion. His frustration wasn't a brief outburst. It was the result of decades of dissatisfaction that had been building for years. From the moment Hackman entered the industry with a simple dream of pursuing his passion for acting, he once said, "I didn't come here to be famous. I came here to work." But he quickly realized that Hollywood wasn't there to support passion. It was a place that devoured any soul bold enough to dream of fairness or true art. For years, Hackman became a thorn in the side of Hollywood's hidden powers. He turned down lucrative contracts, declined invitations to extravagant fundraising events, and even flatly rejected an offer to join the Academy. Hollywood was a vast trap, where the weak betrayed each other just to survive a few more seasons. So, Hackman took a nearly unheard-of route. He severed all ties with power, shut the door on the media, and withdrew to a quiet life in New Mexico with his wife, Betsy Arakawa, the only woman in his life who had never broken his trust in kindness. Even as Hackman attempted to cut all ties with Hollywood, he couldn't shake the persistent presence trailing him. Calls from famous directors, scripts sent to his home. Despite no one knowing his exact address, everything felt like lingering ghosts, reminding him that no one could truly escape Hollywood's grasp. The worst of it all, the thing that slowly ate away at the work Hackman had tried to protect for decades, were the secrets he was forced to keep. Secrets about backstage parties, the hidden deals between powerful producers and young stars willing to do anything to step onto the red carpet. Hackman knew it all, and he despised himself for staying silent. So, in his final days, when sharp pains in his chest forced him to face life's limits, Hackman broke the silence he had kept for nearly 50 years. What he revealed became the first horrifying piece of the Hollywood puzzle he had long witnessed. Unlike his tough, stoic persona on screen, Gene Hackman in real life was a smoldering fire, ready to ignite when something didn't sit right with him. That fire burned brightest on the set of The French Connection in 1971, where Hackman portrayed Jimmy "Popeye" Doyle, the role that solidified his legacy. But behind the film's raw, gritty realism lay a period of intense tension, one that set the lead actor against a powerful film crew, transforming the set into a silent battlefield. Director William Friedkin was a giant in the industry, but his approach to filmmaking was a nightmare for anyone who didn't bend to his will. Known for his brutal directing methods, Friedkin pushed actors to their physical and mental extremes to capture raw, authentic performances. But for Hackman, the real battle wasn't just with the unforgiving director, it was with an unseen force behind the camera, a presence more powerful than anything on set. From his first days on set, Hackman could sense eyes on him, not just from the production team, but from somewhere darker. There were private calls, subtle offers from men he'd never met. They didn't talk scripts, acting, or anything artistic. Instead, they presented conditions, terms for invisible support, the kind that could make or break a career. Later, Hackman would refer to it as the dirty deal happening behind the scenes. During a late-night shoot, with the entire crew exhausted, Hackman stepped backstage to catch his breath in a dimly lit corner behind the studio where the streetlights cast an eerie glow. That's when he overheard it. A brief, hushed conversation between the producer and an unfamiliar man. The whispers mixed with cigarette smoke, but Hackman caught enough to understand. His role, the upcoming awards, even the trajectory of his career. It had all been planned long before. "We need a fresh face, but one we can control." The voice was so cold, it sent chills down Hackman's spine. By morning, his fury had reached its breaking point. He confronted Friedkin and the producer directly, but all he received were weak smiles and defiant stares. That was the moment Hackman understood. In this game, actors weren't artists. They were pawns. The scenes he filmed weren't just for the audience. They were tools, pieces in a much larger scheme unfolding behind the curtain. From that moment on, Hackman refused all private meetings with producers and avoided exclusive parties where secret deals were masked as casual exchanges. He understood that stepping through those doors meant paying a price, not just with his career, but with his soul. Few knew that Hackman was offered leading roles in at least 3 blockbuster films of the 1970s, all of which went on to win Oscars. He turned them all down. Not because of the scripts, but because each offer came with a list of non-artistic conditions. Private dinners with industry power players, unsigned contracts filled with vague clauses about promotional opportunities, and worst of all, demands that could never be put in writing. Demands so infuriating that Hackman reportedly tore a script apart the moment he finished reading it. There was a rumor in the industry, one Hackman never confirmed but that had circulated for years, that he had witnessed a secret deal to rig the Oscars. A powerful producer negotiating quietly with an Academy media representative. Not about the quality of a film, but about a post-award publicity package that would ensure the win had nothing to do with merit. From that point forward, Hackman lost faith in the Oscar race. To him, the golden statue wasn't a symbol of artistic achievement. It was a prize won behind closed doors. And as rumors spread throughout the studio that year, Hackman realized he no longer fit in there. In the quiet seaside room in Santa Fe, where Gene Hackman spent his final years escaping the chaos of the world, an old phone rang through the silence of the night. On the other end was a familiar voice, his closest friend for decades, the only person Hackman still trusted with the secrets he had buried for years. But this time, Hackman wasn't reaching out to relive the past. The stories he called to reveal. Hackman's voice was rough, each word cutting through the silence like a sharp blade. He began with a sentence as chilling as the night air seeping through a cracked window. "We sold our souls for fame, and I can't die carrying this burden." Outside, the New Mexico sky was pitch black, but the true darkness filled the room where Hackman sat. No lights, unlike usual. The whiskey on the table contained nothing but the memories he'd spent over 50 years trying to bury. Now they surged forth, unstoppable. Hackman recalled it slowly, each word feeling like a stone weighing down his chest. He spoke of a night in 1974 inside a Beverly Hills mansion, not just a gathering of A-list stars, but a room packed with powerful figures from media, production, and politics. It wasn't just a party. It was the night Hackman was first welcomed into the inner circle, a group of seasoned actors revered by Hollywood and the press. Yet behind the scenes, they kept secrets that could never be revealed. According to Hackman, the inner circle wasn't some clandestine group with elaborate rituals or blood oaths. The vow was silence, a pact among those who had witnessed too much, who knew too much about the dark secrets of the film capital. They were like shipwreck survivors, holding the truth about the disaster, but bound to silence if they wanted to preserve their lives and their careers. The greatest secret Hackman carried throughout his life, the one that ate away at his soul with each passing day, was the cover-up of Hollywood's most horrific crime. A child exploitation ring involving famous filmmakers, celebrated actors, and the shadowy figures who controlled the awards, the media, and the entire industry. In 1975, Hackman and a few familiar faces, once prominent actors who had faded from the spotlight, were invited to a private party. They thought it was just another chance to network with the powerful. But what unfolded behind those doors would haunt Hackman for the rest of his life. Beyond the velvet curtain, inside an extravagant room, was a scene he could never erase from his mind. Children, too young to understand what was happening, used as entertainment for men who called themselves moguls. The laughter, the applause, the firm handshakes after each exchange. Hackman absorbed it all, his eyes capturing every detail, his heart turning cold like a sheet of black ice. The next day, Hackman and a few fellow actors found themselves thrown into a nightmare they never expected. They were called into a sealed room and given two choices: sign a non-disclosure agreement in exchange for roles, fame, and protection, or speak out and watch their careers and possibly their lives crumble away. Hackman signed, not for fame, but because he knew that alone he couldn't battle the colossal machine fueled by money and power. It wasn't just a confession, it was the tolling of a bell, swinging open the gates of hell, where Hollywood's darkest secrets lay in wait to be exposed. The small wooden house in Santa Fe, where Gene Hackman spent his final years, soon became a focal point after news of his passing spread. But not because of curious locals or tabloid reporters. A different group arrived first, people who never ventured into the light. They didn't bring flowers, they didn't light candles, they came for the tapes. Those tapes had long been a whispered legend in private conversations among veteran actors. Those who knew Hackman understood his habit of recording, not for blackmail or as a weapon, but simply to keep a record in case the truth ever needed to be revealed. Hackman called them his lifeline tapes, the only connection between him and his conscience. According to an anonymous insider, Hackman began this secret practice in the late 1980s, silently recording phone calls with producers, negotiations over roles, veiled threats against young actors who refused to comply, and even off-the-record conversations among Hollywood's power players. He recorded everything. Each tape was a piece of a puzzle in what Hackman referred to as the ugliest mosaic of power I've ever seen. Those tapes didn't just hold scattered voices. They were living proof of a system that had been running for decades. A system where prestigious awards weren't always given for talent, where faces disappeared from the screen for simply saying no, and where child actors were taught silence before they even knew the alphabet. Hackman once told a friend, If you heard what I've heard, you'd never watch another Oscar night again. Now that Hackman was gone, so were the tapes. At the family's request, the Santa Fe police conducted a thorough search of the house, checking secret drawers, hidden compartments in bookshelves, even scanning every floor tile. No tapes, no cases. They had disappeared without a trace. Hackman's family, particularly his cousin who lived next door during his final years, confirmed seeing old tape reels neatly stacked inside a worn leather suitcase. Hackman never explained them. He only gave one instruction. If anything happened, they were not to be opened. Instead, they were to contact a single name, a former friend who had never appeared in any public photographs. When the police opened Hackman's storage room, the suitcase was gone, without a trace, not even a single note left behind. Someone had taken it. But the more terrifying question was, had Hackman managed to copy the tapes? And if so, where were they now? In the hands of an old colleague still on the same side? Locked away in the safe of a mysterious attorney in New York? Or had they already reached a newsroom where journalists were sitting on a ticking time bomb, just waiting for the right moment to detonate? Some Hollywood insiders revealed that Hackman wasn't the only one aware of the recordings. Certain directors, screenwriters, and even young actors who had been caught in shady dealings also knew about them, but no one dared to speak of them, because they understood that merely mentioning the missing tapes was like signing their own death sentence. If you find Gene Hackman's story worth reflecting on, leave a comment with the number 1. If not, leave a comment with the number 0. Now let's dive into more thought-provoking stories about Gene Hackman. As the lights dimmed over the empty streets of Santa Fe, only questions lingered in the darkness. What fragments of truth had Hackman left behind, and who or what force had the power to decide whether those secrets would ever be revealed? Hollywood remained silent, as if nothing had ever happened. But those who knew Hackman understood. The tapes weren't lost. They were simply in hiding, waiting for a hand brave enough to pull back the curtain of truth. From the day he walked off his final film set, Gene Hackman chose a path few Hollywood legends ever dared to take. A path of complete isolation and solitude. Santa Fe, New Mexico, with its arid hills and blood-red sunsets, became his ultimate refuge. A humble wooden house. No towering gates, no walls, no guards. Only the wind slicing through the cracks, as if every sound conspired with the haunting silence. Hackman tried to move on, but even there, Hollywood never truly let him go. You can leave Hollywood, but Hollywood will never leave you alone, he once said, during a private meeting with a few old friends in 2005, a statement that would linger like a haunting curse. One of those present remembered Hackman speaking with a calm demeanor, but beneath it all, there was a smoldering fear. The fear of a man who had seen too much, known too much, and carried secrets that were never meant to be uncovered. In his early years in New Mexico, Hackman kept sporadic contact with old friends, former colleagues, those who had once stood on the same side, defending what they called the artistic conscience. But over time, everything faded. The phone stopped ringing, handwritten letters went unanswered, and Hackman, in some way, had pushed himself into complete isolation. He once joked to his cousin, "If one day I disappear, no one will know." But it wasn't just a joke, it was a premonition. It was this very cousin who, after Hackman's death, began experiencing strange occurrences for years. mysterious cars parked at a distance, sometimes speeding off into the night with no one in sight. Eerie late-night calls with only the sound of faint breathing before abruptly hanging up. Nameless letters containing only a few handwritten words. "We see you." Hackman never officially admitted he was being watched, but his cousin confirmed that he knew. Knew it well enough to always keep 2 suitcases in the house, one filled with personal belongings and the other with documents no one had ever seen. Hackman lived like an exile in his own home, always prepared to leave everything behind and vanish if necessary. Why? Because of what he knew and what he carried with him in his final years. He rejected every invitation to return, not for an honorary Oscar, not for a Lifetime Achievement Award, not for anniversary tributes. Partly because he despised Hollywood's hypocrisy, but mostly because he knew that the moment he stepped beyond the safe confines of Santa Fe, the old hands wouldn't hesitate to reach out and squeeze the last breath from his throat. Some called Hackman paranoid, but those who sat with him in that wooden house heard the disjointed fragments, the late-night parties in Beverly Hills, the deals made behind closed doors, the young stars who never got their chance to shine. They knew Hackman wasn't delusional. He was simply one of the few who had lived long enough to tell the story. But no one knows if those stories ever escaped Hackman's lips in time, or if they followed him into the abyss of eternal silence. Gene Hackman's final days were far from the peaceful twilight of a legendary figure enjoying his last years. Instead, they were suffocatingly tense, as if his final breaths were being choked away, each faint glimmer of daylight swallowed by the shadows of memories he could never erase. About 3 weeks before his death, his cousin noticed something unusual. Hackman, who had severed most ties with Hollywood long ago, was suddenly making calls. Not to younger colleagues, not to journalists who had once sought him out, but to a few old faces. Faces that belonged to a secret circle of silence, a pact Hackman had broken years ago. Once united as allies, they have since disappeared, not just from memory, but from existence itself. What's even more chilling is the bizarre manner of their deaths. Midnight car wrecks, fatal tumbles down their own staircases, or sudden, unexplained fatalities in their opulent Beverly Hills estates. The deaths appeared random, yet Hackman never bought into the idea of accidents in a world where men bartered their souls for fame. "I have no one left to talk to," he murmured one night, standing by his office window, his hand shaking as he clutched the old landline phone. Unanswered calls. Voicemails left to echo in emptiness. Voices once familiar, now silenced forever. In the desk drawer of Hackman's office after his death lay a collection of jumbled notes, scrawled in shaky, uneven handwriting. There was no start, no finish, just disjointed fragments of an unfinished puzzle scribbled onto crumpled paper. Yet one line stood out. The same faces, the same hands, the same silence. This phrase echoed like a chilling refrain, repeated across several notes, as though Hackman had desperately tried to leave a message for anyone daring enough to read and brave enough to comprehend. The same faces, the familiar faces, the ones that smiled beside him on the red carpet, and the ones that crushed the careers and souls of those who dared to speak. The same hands, the hands that congratulated him when he won awards, and the same hands that signed the orders to silence inconvenient witnesses. The same silence, the silence that has endured for over 50 years, concealing Hollywood's most sinister secrets. When Gene Hackman's death was officially announced, it came with a neat and tidy cause, natural causes. A clean conclusion, leaving no room for curiosity to roam. But for those who understood the world Hackman had escaped, natural had never been a reality. Was it truly the end, or Hollywood's final warning to those who dared defy the rules? An old friend, one of the few survivors, spoke to the press after Hackman's funeral. Gene knew the rules. He knew them better than anyone, and he knew exactly what happens when you forget who makes them. Gene Hackman's story didn't end with a quiet grave in Santa Fe. It ended with the sharp slam of an office door. The first officer stepped into the wooden house, where a silent landline sat by the window, and beneath a drawer lay the final note: "I never wanted to survive." Hackman closed his eyes, but his last words rang out, not as a peaceful farewell, but as a scream ripping through the glittering mask Hollywood used to conceal its rotting conscience. That secret. Who dares to hear it all? Those words didn't come solely from a man on the edge of death, but from the voice of a tormented conscience. He had lived a life of glory, yet one shadowed by regret and sorrow. He had devoted his entire being to his art, but the price was paid in wounds and loss. In his final moments, he could no longer stay silent. He had to speak the truth, even if it had the power to shatter the world. Those left behind, will they dare face it? Will they have the courage to hear it through? Or will they turn a blind eye, cover their ears, and keep living in illusion and lies? Gene Hackman was gone, but his words lingered. A warning, a challenge, and perhaps the key that would shape the future of an entire industry. If the story of Gene Hackman and Hollywood's dark secrets surprised you, make sure to hit like, drop a comment with your thoughts, and share this video with friends who might find it